It's time to get all your Star Wars news in a single file. From Fantatrax TV, this is Good Morning Tatooine!
Good morning, Tatooine indeed. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Brian Cameron. With me, my co-host, as always, Mr. Paul Naylor.
Good evening, sir. Are you well?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Yeah, pretty good.
Had a hectic week.
Yes. Yeah, did you?
Yeah, it's been busy, and 3 episodes of Andor to watch doesn't help.
It doesn't, especially when it's somewhat traumatic, but we will deal with that when we when we do our wrap up of the whole season in a few weeks' time. But yes, it was very good arc.
Yeah. Good evening to Jonathan as well in the chat.
Hi, Jonathan. Hi, Jonathan.
Let us know, everyone watching live, your thoughts on what we're talking about. As we talk about it, we'll add your comments to the show and we'll discuss what you think as well, because your opinion is just as valid as ours. And
if not more so.
We like opinions on this show.
We do. Good and bad.
Good and bad. It's a tragic week for democracy, it has to be said.
He's off, everyone. He's off.
I know. Terrible. At least it finally exposed the disgusting behaviour of the rebellion. Finally shown. Terrible.
It was superb stuff. Really,
very good television. That's for sure.
Very good.
Whether it was Star Wars or not, it was beautifully written.
Exactly. Episodes. Yeah. The fact that it had got a Star Wars background to it was great, but as a drama, just superb.
Yeah. But we're going to start our reviews of Andor on proper Star Wars Day, which is the 25th of May.
Perfect.
None of this May 4th rubbish. I've had to do well this week to try and avoid any May 4 product or announcement because I refuse to give in to the PR people and promote their wares if they're using fake Star Wars Day to sell their merch.
I did buy one thing. I bought a ticket to Andor at Fordingbridge.
Oh, that's acceptable. That's
acceptable. Exactly. Yeah.
Did you get a May 4th discount?
You'd have thought I would. Yeah. You try getting out of Dave Tree.
Yeah. It's shaping up to be a very good show in Fordingbridge and more. It's like a fan-made convention celebrating Andor. Lots of behind-the-scenes guests there.
It's basically all the behind-the-scenes guests, and I believe the tickets have almost sold out. So that's all credit to the organisers for that one. So that's great.
Absolutely. Should we have a look to see what we've got on tonight's show?
Yeah, surprise me.
First up, we're going to be checking out Industrial Light and Magic's 50 Years of Innovation book that's heading our way in November 2025.
Excellent stuff. Andor Season 2, a live Q&A on Tuesday the 13th of May. Interesting idea.
Hasbro Pulse released the Black Series ISB Tactical Agent, or at least announced it this past week.
And Natalie Portman on Padme Amidala's return. I think she'd have to be a Jedi. I've seen this. Yeah, it's an interesting idea from her. Yeah.
More trash from the one show is how I would describe it.
Basically.
We're going to be looking at a return to Jabba's court, where we're going to be discussing whether Star Tours is outdated and antiquated, a controversial comment made this past week by one publication, and we'll be debating that.
That's awful. Disney has announced a 7th theme park and resort in Abu Dhabi. Starfury
Invasion 2025 has announced its 9 Galaxy Far, Far Away guests heading to Birmingham this year.
It's a great event. I went last year. It's fantastic. ILMVFX. Now, I'm sure that's meant to be some year on the calendar, isn't it? Dennis Muren visits the original ILM headquarters.
I was there many years ago and went to Foodles, the cafe right next door to it.
I remember. Well, blimey, I remember you talking about
horrible greasy spoon cafe, that's to be sure. And last up in the news, on the Andor front, Kyle Solar reflects on his character, Syril Karn, after his tragic and horrific murder at the hands of the gore. We all know about the gore. We've all known about the gore for years, what despicable people they are. And if you've been watching the news and Good Morning Coruscant, you would know all about the horrible gore and their spiders, and they think they're something special, and their politicians turned out to be nasty this week and killed poor Syril Karn, who's been busy making sure that all the weights and measures are being correct. And clearly they've been ripping people off with their
I was only surprised that we didn't get Rene from Hello Hello in there. I thought perhaps he would have shown up, but
that's the most surprising thing of the whole episode, is that it's taken multiple years to sort out the gore problem. You would have thought they would capitulate in 24 hours. Shocking. That's all I can say. So a nice mix of news tonight. Nothing major, but a nice range of topics to cover. So should we head straight into it, Paul?
Let's do it, mate. Let's go.
So first up, ILM have announced a book to celebrate their 50 years of innovation. One of these beautiful coffee table books that's going to look at the entire history of the company all the way back to 1975. And I think this is going to be something special. ILM's content, I think, was perhaps the highlight of Celebration in Japan. Anyone that's got a chance to go back and watch some of the content that's up on YouTube. And they've really become quite pivotal in the Disney setup, and really been elevated in the last few years, as I think Disney has realised quite how much ILM brings to not just the Lucasfilm as a subsidiary, but the entire industry as well. And so it's very good to see ILM getting celebrated in the way they have as part of this 50th anniversary. And I'm looking forward to picking up this book. I think it's going to have lots of little nuggets of information that we perhaps wouldn't have known, Paul.
Yeah, it'll be a great companion to the stuff that's already available on Disney Plus. I mean, obviously there was a series a while back, and I believe they've just dropped some more content on it, but I know they have. For those of us who like to know about stuff behind the scenes, this book will be an absolute must. And I'm hoping that there's going to be stuff in there that isn't on the TV, available to stream on Disney Plus. I would imagine there will be things in there that haven't been touched upon. But it looks great, doesn't it? I mean, it's just got that real sort of oldie worldy look about the cover. And I love the ILM 50 logo that they've done. That's on various bits of merch. That's a great logo. But I mean, is this something that you think you'll buy, Brian?
Oh, absolutely. I've actually, in the last week, I've been making a point of picking up some coffee table books, as I like to call them, Star Wars related. I bought one by chance because I saw it at a very good price, and I've been picking up a few this past week, just to complete the collection in little areas. And so this is definitely one that's high up there on the list of securing when it comes out later this year.
Definitely. Evening, Jack. I saw you just pop up. I hope you're well, mate. I mean, I've got a few coffee table books. The Vader one from a few years back, brilliant, which has got loads of little inserts in it. There's little things hidden in pockets and posters that fold out. It's brilliant. And the recently updated encyclopedia. That's worth searching. If you haven't got it, search for that one. But yeah, I mean, like you say, these are things that you can just sort of like flick through every now and then, read a bit of a snippet, and then come back to it a couple of weeks down the line if you have to. But Yeah. Have we got a price on this yet?
No prices yet, but I
No.
expect it'll be significant. I think it'll probably go into the three figures.
I was thinking the same. Yeah. I think you're looking at £100 easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next up, we've talked a little bit already about Andor. We're not going to go too in depth into it until we do our review shows, because we want people a chance to watch, enjoy, and consume
Yeah.
and think and contemplate. But they're going to be doing a Q&A, a live Q&A on the Star Wars YouTube channel this coming Tuesday and 5 p.m. UK time. So just as you're finishing work. What kind of a weird choice, I think, to do this before the
Yeah.
final 3 episodes. Kind of feels
Yeah.
like it's something you would do after, and then you're free to talk about it. But even doing it
Definitely.
this week feels odd, because you've got to give people a chance to watch the content. So I would have done this a week Tuesday rather than
Yeah.
now.
It does seem an odd time slot for it. Like you say, I mean, we're three-quarters of the way through the season. Wait till the end. But hey, at the same time, it's a great opportunity to ask a question and get it answered by Tony and Diego. So hopefully, if I'm about, I will be logging in and throw a question their way.
Yeah, I'm going to
I'm
log in.
just
I'm going to ask Diego Luna who he is. Who are you? See how he likes it after he's terrible insulting Cyril. Shocking. Just
Yeah.
terrible. We'll get to that later in the show, I think.
Have you got a black armband on?
I should have. Just terrible. Just terrible week. Most upset.
Oh dear.
Next up on the news front, Hasbro Pulse, the Black Series ISB Tactical Agent. If you want to restore order to your galaxy, this is the action figure for you. Pre-orders now, exclusively to Target.com, and then I imagine the various stores in the UK will be able to pick that up.
Yeah.
$24.99. Is it?
That's pretty standard these days for a Black Series figure. If anything, they're going to go up soon, I would imagine, with everything that's going on in the world.
Yeah,
But
it's quite a nice little design.
it's a lovely thing, isn't it? Because it's like a real mashup between about three different sort of figures from the past. I mean, it's an Imperial officer, it's a stormtrooper, and it's a biker scout all in one. It's a great figure. Um, I'm trying to think. Have we actually seen these yet, or are these going to be in this final arc?
We've seen these. Yep.
We have, yeah, yeah. So much of it coming at us that you forget who you've seen and whether you've just seen it in a clip. But yeah, I think as this could go either way. This could become one of those classic sort of like just hanging around on shelf for ages, peg warmers, or it could be like one of your most sort of highly prized and hard to come by figures.
I'd
You
like to
know,
see one of the all black gore peace soldiers, as I'd like to call them, those that restored in calm and
well, yeah, yeah.
tranquility to the town square in Palmo.
We should just have a crowd of those figures available as a box set, just so they're just people, just people to put in the
Yeah.
back.
They called it a
Um,
massacre. It's only a couple of hundred. It's expendable.
yeah, yeah. I mean, more fool them. They let that thing get built up over several years. I mean, they had plenty of opportunity to get rid of it. So yeah, bless them.
Shocking.
But yeah, but very clever.
Also on the news front, BBC's The One Show, which is one of the trashiest shows on TV, but gets
Yeah,
good guests because it's BBC prime time, had Padme Amidala herself, Natalie Portman, there to promote her Apple Plus film Fountain of Youth. And a real mishmash of a sofa as normal, a lot of weird topics discussed. But they did touch on Star Wars with her, and they asked if she would ever consider a return to the saga. And she made a kind of I guess, a flippant comment that she would, if they gave her a lightsaber, she'd want to come back as a Jedi. That would be exciting. And don't for one second consider it anything that she's actually seriously talking about or talking with anyone about. It's just one of these, give a stupid answer to a stupid question.
Yeah, yeah. I think if ever she did make a comeback in Star Wars, one of the easiest things to do would be to set it around the episode one era, where they could cake her in white makeup and put the two dots on the cheek. She's not going to, that'll disguise a multitude of sins. But whether they would flash back to that era, I don't know.
If it was me and you were bringing her back in TV, you probably couldn't afford Natalie Portman for TV because she's movie level wages. But you could afford Keira Knightley, so let's just give her the role of Padme Amidala.
Yeah, it's not like she's not done it before.
There you go.
That's a good point.
That would be my move.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah,
I've actually been watching. I forget the name of it. She's in it on the program just now. Keira Knightley. I think it's Black Angels or Black Swans or something. That's kind of a detective kind of murder mystery type kind of program, which is very, very, very good in it. So still an incredibly quality actress. I don't think Mark Newbold's in the chat to correct me, so I'm gonna have to Google the name of the show because it's gonna annoy me otherwise.
Let's see if I can prod him.
We need our fact checking here. It's
yeah.
Here we go. Black Doves, that's what it's called. It's kind of like a spy, sort of James Bond-esque kind of show, and it's very, very good. So if you haven't checked that out, check that out on Netflix. It's highly recommended by myself.
And then, of course, Natalie was in Black Swan. So
Jack confirming there. Black Doves, just too slow, Jack. Too slow.
Well, thanks for trying, mate.
Yeah. But yeah, very, very good program, and it kind of shows that she is available for TV. You could actually do sort of spin-off with the Handmaidens.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, that's a good point. But I think if they could find a good way of bringing Natalie back into Star Wars, then I'd be up for that. It's a tricky one. We've got so many people that are being brought back left, right, and centre. I'm expecting the next one to be Samuel L. Jackson. I
just
see that happening.
Just absolute scumbag what he did to the Emperor.
I think he'll be quite twisted if they bring him back. He'll be some sort of real sort of like affected kind of bounty hunter style character who wants to, catch up with all the Jedi that are left and get rid of them. So I think it's got some potential, but they need to do it soon because Sam's not getting any younger. Well, he's well in his 70s now, I think.
Yeah, that's very, very true. And as Jack says, maybe we'd see her voice in animation, but I don't think live action will see her. I kind of agree. Yeah. If anywhere she's going to appear, it's going to be in the Ahsoka show because they can do the world between worlds and you can give her a little bit of CGI makeup and kind of make it work.
I agree with Jack though. An animated series where you could get a lot of the voice actors that were live action before, that'd be perfect. Yeah, good one, Jack.
Mr. Newbell's here. Just too late to fact check on us already. So we've gotten away with a lot in the first 20 minutes. Should we have a big debate now and head to Jabba's court, Paul?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it indeed. If I can find the right buttons, here we go.
All right.
Oh, wrong one. Let's get the right graphic up on the screen if we're going to do this right, Paul. Is Star Tours rather, outdated and antiquated? Can't even say the word.
Explain, Bri. Where did this question come from?
Yeah, let's see if I can bring bring the graphic up on the screen. I had no time to prep this, but let's try. Let's see if I've got the right. There we go. I don't have the right graphics. There we go. There we go. Here we go.
Hey.
So, Christine Hit, writing for SF Gate, made the comment that she had fond memories of Star Tours, the motion simulated space ride, set in the Star Wars galaxy, and she went on a ride with her parents when she was a child and took her own kid as an adult. One of her favourites. But the last few times that she's visited Disneyland, she felt that Star Tours was a little lackluster compared to the newer rides across the park at Star Wars Galaxy Edge. Making the comment that while it was cutting edge when it opened to long lines 37 years ago, it doesn't have the same impact today as technology has advanced. The shorter lines and wait times hovering around 30 minutes are also a sign that its popularity has waned. It all makes me wonder whether Star Tours is reaching a point when its space travels will come to an end, or should it at least move out of the Tomorrowland and into the Galaxy's Edge with other Star Wars rides. A controversial comment. And as Mr. Newbold suggests, she is so wrong. Star Tours still the best Star Wars experience.
I love it. Yeah, it's the one where you feel like you can share it as a group of friends, probably more than any other ride.
Yeah, that's precisely what I did when we were in Japan. We went to Disney Park, went with a bunch of friends. We did Star Tours multiple times, and late at night, whilst the stupid, annoying Disney sugar-coated parade was playing, we went, and it was dead quiet, and we were able to get through. And because it was Big Kev's birthday, they let us, the five of us that were there together, do the ride on our own together, just the five of us, which was something special.
Absolutely.
And it was still a great experience. And like it's a it's a 4G cinema type experience, like you get in the cinema now. And so it isn't a fantastic ride in terms of the movements, of the mechanisms or surround sound type effects, within the ship. But it doesn't need to be, because what's up on screen's great fun, and it's just a basic little shuggle you around kind of ride, but it still works. And I disagree. I don't think the queues were that short. I think it's well designed in that there's a lot of queuing inside the building, so there doesn't have to be a lot of queuing outside. And maybe the queuing experience can be improved, but that's probably can be said for most Star Wars rides, or most Disney rides. And I would say, if I was to rate the Millennium Falcon, the Rise of Resistance, and Star Tours, I still think Star Tours is the best. I actually don't think much of the Falcon experience at all. Thought it was a bit naff. Rise of Resistance broke down when I was on it. That wasn't great either. It was okay. But it was a big queue for quite a short experience. But
yeah, I mean, I enjoy them all. I think they've all got their merit. But the only thing that I would agree with that she said would be, I do think Star Tours would benefit from being in the Star Wars at Galaxy's Edge. It makes sense to put them all in the same area. So that's what I would definitely do. But yeah, my experience of Star Tours. So I've only been on it I've been on it in Anaheim and Orlando. I love it. I think it's a fantastic ride. It's not even a ride; it's more of an experience.
Yeah, and it's not different to a lot of other things. I'm kind of thinking of the Simpsons one at Universal's very similar in that you're basically sat on a device that moves you around, but you're not really physically going anywhere.
No, and I think it's a sort of attraction as well, that when everything else that you're going on, maybe some form of roller coaster, it's nice to have something that's a little bit different. So yeah, I think she's totally wrong. Not only has it developed massively over the years to feature different lands, but also I believe that the actual quality of the image and everything else has enhanced. I didn't see it back in the day. And like you say, even if you were in the queue, you as a Star Wars fan, you'd want to be in the queue as long as you could because there's some great stuff before you get to the actual ride with Rex and 3PO and R2. So um,
And I
one
think
of those ones I didn't mind waiting,
you need the balance in a Disney park as well. I was kind of sad that the Muppets cinema thing shut down
Yeah,
because it was slightly different
yeah,
and an experience. You can go Indiana Jones, you could call that outdated and antiquated,
yeah.
but it's actually nice to go there and sit down and have half an hour of a sit down kind of break and enjoy something completely randomly different. And I think having
Yeah.
things that are different in a Disney park is great. Not everything has to be cutting edge, spectacular kind of.
One of my fondest memories at Orlando, Bri, was when we were all on It's a Small World After All. I mean, you can't get anything tamer than that.
No, but that's isn't the charm of Disney, the fact that it's 80, 90 years worth of history that's kind of
Yeah.
um, there. I think it would be sad if they took away the the funfair type elements from as well, which people could call old and antiquated as well. The teacups and that kind of thing. If you start getting rid of that, it's kind of sad. And yeah, the Muppets 3D closing, it was kind of heartbreak. Was Jim Henson's last project, as Mark points out. So I don't think you can relocate it either. You think of the size of the building and logistics of moving it. It would cost millions to relocate even the few hundred meters into Galaxy's Edge. I don't see what the advantage is of moving it, and what exactly do you put in its place?
Well, the reporter was hinting that that's what she wanted. I can't even begin to imagine what the cost of it would be. But personally, I would like all Star Wars content in one area. It just makes sense to me. But obviously, if it's cost prohibitive, it's not going to happen. As long as it doesn't disappear altogether, they can leave it where it is. But I would prefer it in Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah,
Um,
Galaxy's Edge definitely needs 3 or 4 additional
it does.
things. Not
Well, it would
necessarily
be an
huge
easy way to
ride
remedy that.
experiences, but it needs things to occupy people's time.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
And as Mark makes the more sensible idea, expand Galaxy's Edge to reach Star Tours.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Is it? I'm trying to think. Is it far away from it? Is it at any of these?
Florida's logistically, it's quite close by. I'm trying to remember
Yeah.
California. I can't remember the layout of
No, I
California.
can't. I've got a feeling at Anaheim it's further away.
Yeah, as Jack says, you could do more events in Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah,
Definitely think that's a thing.
yeah.
Actually, the one thing from May the 4th, because I hate May the 4th so much, that I enjoy seeing is the people that meet up at Galaxy's Edge and do their little thing with the lightsabers, as corny as it is.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when we were over in Anaheim when we went on Star Wars Night, uh, those are great events when they do those.
Yeah.
And saw Ian McDermott walking around. Managed to get onto the Falcon ride several times, Smuggler's Run. Did the Rise of the Resistance a couple of times. It did break down once as well. I think what it was, somebody's hat had come off and it had flipped the mind of the operation. But yeah, Star Wars theme nights would be great. Seeing the Cantina band playing on a boat as it sort of drifted across the lake, that was bizarre, but great fun. Yeah, more events.
Yeah, as Mr. McHugh points out, bring back Star Wars weekends.
Yes, they were great. Yeah,
Definitely something I
yeah,
think
yeah.
should be done.
That was long before Disney bought Star Wars, wasn't it?
Hello from Los Angeles as well, Skyrider. Nice to see you there
Hello
in the
there.
comments. Yeah, I think Anaheim is a different side of the park. I think that's where she's speaking about because I think it's in Tomorrowland. I think in Anaheim, from
Yeah,
memory.
yeah,
Yeah, Weapon TXX 1138, just confirming that. And yes, Star Tours does rule over the Falcon ride. I actually find getting on the Falcon ride incredibly easy. You could literally just walk on. And I know it's got an incredibly long walk around before you get to the cockpit. But yeah, I could literally just walk on and be 5 minutes to get onto the ride. So I actually think if anything's failing, that's the one that's failing. And I just don't get what the experience is on the Falcon.
There's a major update coming to that anyway, isn't there? So
Yeah.
they're changing it all, so that'll make
But
it.
Star Tours is just good old-fashioned instant fun. I think that you can take kids at any age on, and
yeah,
I don't get the idea. It's a stupid idea to get rid of it. Let's just call it as it is.
yeah, you've got that added bonus as well of that fun element where somebody on board is the spy, and everybody wants to be the spy, and you know,
I was called out by Darth Vader as the spy in Japan, which I was deeply offended by.
Only you could be.
I was like, I'm a loyal imperialist here, and just shows you what a traitor Darth Vader is.
Yeah.
So I think George is involved in Star Tours, so no way should it go. Yeah, if you want rid of something that George made, get rid of the Michael Jackson thing. That's aged. That's aged terribly.
Yeah. But I think you and I are both singing from the same hymn sheet. Not only should it not go, but it should be revered. It's a brilliant ride, attraction rather. I wouldn't class it as a ride. It is a bit like going to a 4D cinema screening, but it's so good. And over recent years, when every time you go on the ride, you get a random selection of planets to go to, that has enhanced it massively. That random element. And the amount, is it Hoth that everybody wants to go to?
I always want to go to Hoth. Yeah. It never happens. Weapon THX1138 making a comment, which is a great idea. Build a second ride next to Falcon. Build a Razor Quest to a Mando one.
Nice. Yeah.
Love that idea. And Mark making a comment, needs more merch as well. It's probably true. You've just released the Star Cruiser. Is it Star Cruiser 3000 is now? Or 1000?
Yeah. I mean that's great. I mean, it's almost like a collector's case, but it's got a reasonably hefty price tag on it.
So I think we can all agree, Christine from SFK, you're completely wrong. Think of something else before you start talking about getting rid of Star Tours. Terrible idea.
Leave us alone.
Leave us alone. And on that basis, I think we should call that an end for this week's Jabba's Court. But Good Morning Tatooine will continue if you're watching with us live. Of course, Jabba's Court is part of Good Morning Tatooine, your weekly recap for all the Star Wars news, live streaming every Sunday at 9 p.m. in the UK, 4 p.m. in New York, and released every Wednesday at 7 p.m. as its own video. Back to Good Morning Tatooine, and Skyrider making an excellent point. They need to build a Star Wars themed hotel. That would work. If you actually built a Star Wars themed hotel and not some overpriced interactive building that's just a concrete block, it would work. Because if you were going to Disney parks and you had a choice of where to stay, you'd stay in the Star Wars themed hotel.
Well, we could always have a Gorman related one now, couldn't we? We could have that hotel.
Don't like the gore. Have you not heard about the gore? Them and their spiders and their silk, and they think there's something special. I had enough of them.
I reckon that's what that's all been about.
There we go. As Mark said, an actual Star Wars hotel would work.
Yeah.
But don't over fabricate it is the way, because make it far too expensive to go to, which coincidentally brings us to our next story. Disney announced their 7th theme park in Abu Dhabi. That's going to be cheap.
Oh, yeah, but can you imagine when Nuslot get over there? That's going to be great.
Bob Iger said this is a thrilling moment for our company as we announced plans to build an exciting Disney theme park resort in Abu Dhabi, whose culture is rich with a appreciation of the arts and creativity, and the abuse of females and use of slave labor. Oh, he didn't say that, but I've misquoted him. I do apologize. He said, it's our 7th theme park destination that will rise from the land in spectacular fashion, blending contemporary architecture with cutting-edge technology to offer guests deeply immersive entertainment experiences in unique and modern ways. It'll be authentically Disney and distinctly Emirati. Who knows what that means?
Maybe that's a new planet. So when is this likely to open?
Well, they tend to build quick in Abu Dhabi because amazingly they get a lot of workers come from abroad who are willing to work very cheap and very fast without very many health and safety rules. And similar to the film The Expendables, have you seen that? Very similar idea.
Well, I mean, even if it takes as long as the Universal Park in the UK, you're looking at 6 years.
Yeah, it'll be done quicker than that, I think. But yeah, it's going to be, it's one of these where it's not going to be Disney owned. It's going to be like a shared kind of thing. I think it's going to be owned by an Emirati company, and Disney are going to get a percentage of the revenue. So it's going to be a little bit how Paris started off, where Disney will be involved in elements and not involved in other elements, and there'll be a bit of a standoffish relationship, I think. Just looking at the design, just little things like the iconic Disney castle, they're not going to have a standard Disney castle. It's very much a more glass kind of Emirati kind of design. So you can see already it's going to have its own unique kind of take.
Is that from a different Disney thing? Is it from Frozen or something like that?
Yeah, probably, I think.
Yeah. Not saying it.
Where would you rather go, Abu Dhabi or Bedford?
Tricky one.
Tricky one.
Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi. So there you go. That's going to be, if you think the Disney hotel is expensive, wait till you go to Disney Abu Dhabi. There we go. Mark says, a Fanta trip. No birds, no booze, no bad language. What's the point in going?
When he says no birds, is he being PC at all there?
I don't know. I think he just doesn't like seagulls, I think is what he's saying there.
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Asking the question again on Galaxy's Edge about the Star Wars hotel. Why would they make it in offices now, not open it as part of Galaxy's Edge, with rides and not shops? I actually think it's quite a distance actually away from Galaxy's Edge. It's a bus ride away, effectively, and that was part of the...
Mark Newbold will be able to
Mark will confirm because he's been there, but it's a bit of a bus ride away, and that was part of the experience. You're supposed to be boarding a shuttle to take you to Galaxy's Edge and blah, blah, blah. So it's not just the other side of the tunnel that you see in Galaxy's Edge. It's a good distance away, and I think the point I put in Disney Imagineering into it is to make them ashamed of their biggest failure every day as they go to work. It can't be the only logic of...
Yeah, it's a shame. I think it would have been repurposed had it have been right next to where people perceive it to be. But the fact that it is, I think, probably a mile up the road or something like that, has meant that it's just so disjointed and away from everything else that, other than the purpose that it previously had as the Halcyon, it's just unusable, really.
Yeah. Skyrider making a great comment here, I think. An outer rim desert along with a Canto Bight type casino in Abu Dhabi. I definitely think that fits.
That would be great. They could just do Tatooine. Let's just have Tatooine. That'd be fantastic.
Everyone just struggling with the heat and lack of water.
Yeah. It's like the streets of Mos Espa. Yeah, fantastic.
I was actually surprised, having just been to the Disney parks. I went to Disney at Sea and the Disney park in Tokyo, and how it was still very much Disney, but it had its own takes. Obviously, they've got their own sort of cast of characters out there, so they do have Mickey and Donald and Goofy and all that kind of thing. But there's other Disney characters that are more popular to the Asian market that are more of the focus out there, and so they take a greater focus of the park. So it does kind of work when you have a regional kind of take to it. So maybe that is the best idea of this is going to be a Disney park and a Disney experience, and effectively the Emirati owners are basically paying Disney a license fee to use Disney properties, but it's going to be a distinctly local park to them.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they take. I think they've done it well in Japan, and kind of liked what they did there. Although the food was
Definitely.
disappointing in the park, I have
What
to
did you end up
admit.
having? Tuna and egg?
Tuna and egg sandwich, yeah. It was the highlight of the trip. I actually had a revolting burger. I went to Cape Cod or something like that it was called. So I expected
Yeah.
fish or something. I
Yeah, fish
thought I'm
and
going to
chips.
get some amazing Japanese fish, something that they're renowned for, and I got like a really rubbish beef burger.
And it
Uh,
was probably well overpriced.
yeah, good question. Will Minnie be veiled? It's very possible. I don't.
Brilliant.
It's
Brilliant.
it's an interesting question, and these are problems we're going to have to overcome somehow.
What it'll just be all male characters.
Yeah. Talking of places that are controversial and difficult to understand the people and their culture. Let's go to Birmingham,
I knew that was coming.
where Starfury Invasion 2025 is heading. So Birmingham in the UK, Paul, somewhere very close to where you are
Yes.
currently now,
Yeah.
is returning on the 19th to 21st of September at the Hilton Metropole,
Yeah.
which is at the NEC, which is smack bang at the airport. Couldn't get a more convenient place if you're going by plane, train. Well, probably not automobiles, probably not where you want to go. But a really great lineup of guests. They've announced 9 Star Wars guests so far. And probably Denise Koch, who is from the area, allegedly, does a podcast for Fanta Tracks every now and again. She's probably the headline guest, I would suggest at this point.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I went to this last year. Mark Newbold, John Nitkiss, and myself, all reasonably close to where we live. So we did go by automobile, and we had a brilliant time. It's a really great event. It's the access to ask questions to the actors was brilliant. So basically, the way they did it, they set up a stage, room full of chairs. You sat there as an audience, and there was a microphone set up facing the stage, and you basically queued up to ask a question. And who was there last time? Well, certainly Elizabeth Dulo and Jacob James Beswick. They were both there last time, and I can remember asking them questions. And also, who was the guy that played the Doctor in The Mandalorian? Doctor, was it Pershing?
Dr. Pershing, yeah.
He was there. I asked him about wearing glasses in Star Wars because I mean he's sort of pretty much the first one to do it, unless you count Wilfred from the Andor film. But yeah, honestly, folks, if you get a chance to go to that event, not only is it a great lineup, like Weapon THX 1138 says, but the access that you get to them is unlike. Thank you, Mark. Is unlike access that you get at many of the events out there. Certainly, if you were to go and see one of these at Celebration, you'd get a smile, a signature, and a thank you very much. But yeah,
Am I right in thinking as well that the pricing of it is done slightly different, and where
yes,
it's like almost like a fixed price for access and autographs.
yes. So as I recall, and Mark will correct me, but there's like a reception room where you can choose the different autographs that you want. You pay for them in there. You go in there with a ticket. The pricing is all very sort of pretty cheap, as I recall. And obviously, if you do multiples, then the price comes down even further. And they also generated a really nice poster just for the event. And if you paid for that, you could get all the people in the room to sign that one poster. So they do it in a real sort of like cool sort of fan related way. As Mark just hinted at there, Starfury, they're not just attached to Star Wars. There's various different sort of franchises that they'll do these events for. They've been going for a long time. I'd not heard of them, in all honesty, until we went to the one last year. But yeah, this is an event that's up there with the likes of going to Celebration or to Star Wars Fan Fun Day, Echo Base, anything down at Fording Bridge. This is a must-do event if you can make it there.
There we go. There's Nico and ISB from Andor himself. He lives in Birmingham and he's not been invited.
Nick, give them a nudge. Give them a nudge, Nick, because you should be there. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Give them a reach out to them. Definitely, he can get you on the list.
In fact, Mark Newbold, see if you can help Nick out there. That's your challenge.
Definitely. Next on the news front, we talked about ILM earlier, and with it being 50 years, Dennis Muren has returned to the original ILM headquarters. Now, myself and Matt Booker went there. We obviously couldn't get access because it's there's a commercial company on the premises now, but we went next door to the Foodles Cafe, which if anyone that follows Star Wars very closely may know that Episode 7's production name was Foodle Productions.
Yeah.
And a bit of a greasy spoon cafe would be the way to describe it. But it was nice to just visit the location where Star Wars began in many effects. And Dennis Muren's been there. And I can run a little video that ILM have posted.
And I haven't been inside the building in 50 years.
You haven't been in this building?
No.
In 50 years?
No.
It's 12,000 square feet. It was $2,300 a month in terms of the rent. This is where they did all the effects. Basically, right here where we're standing was the model shop. Dennis! Come on.
Oh, hi.
How are you, Dennis?
I'm fine.
You know, it's so different. There's a wall here. I don't even remember being there dividing the two parts. It may have been there.
And then there's another breaker box that's hard to get to. It says model shop, compressor, machine shop on it. So, yeah.
Okay.
It's just extremely different. And I don't have the connection on the inside that I do when I look at it from the outside. It's like, oh yeah, I recognize that. Until we went to the projection room. And which was in that area, and then it just brought back a flood of memories of the dailies, and you know, George would often come to the dailies and everything. And we'd be looking at the shots over and over and deciding what's going to work and if these are redone and are we going to get the show done on time. And so that's very memorable going back to the screening room.
50th anniversary of ILM. We have a special little something for you.
Happy birthday, dear ILM. Happy birthday to you. There you go. All right, guys.
Looking back on it, it's like we had no idea at the time. And as we got into it, it got harder and harder till we kind of figured out ways to get it done.
Thank you, Dennis.
Sure.
Yeah.
That was actually really lovely to see, I think.
It was, yeah. It's very, very cute and quaint and typically British.
Yes, very much. Nick's making a comment as well. He's at StarCon Italia next week, if anyone from Italy's watching. That's very impressive. It's a great show out there. I've always wanted to head out and do some of these conventions across Europe. So definitely one that's been on the list is StarCon in Italy.
Yeah. In fact, Jonathan Hipkiss from Phantom Tracks went over to the one at Germany the other weekend.
Okay, yeah.
How cool it was. So yeah. So I'm quite jealous there, Nick. I think I'd rather do Italy than Birmingham anyway. But yeah, keep pushing for Brum.
Absolutely. And we're almost through the news. But last on the news front for this week was Kyle Soller talking about Syril Karn, and obviously episode 8 of Andor. Syril meets his demise very sadly in the episode "Who Are You?" which is a question Cassian asked him before he's killed, and such an insulting question I thought to ask him. And all I thought after I saw it was, if you remember back to the very first episode where Andor started out and he was looking for his sister, who was working as a prostitute in the red light district, and basically all Syril's mates know who Andor's sister is if Andor doesn't know who Syril is, and that's all I'm going to say about it. There we go. And he's long forgotten about his sister, his Cassian Andor.
Yeah, that's bizarre, isn't it? Because that was like a real hook for the show to begin with.
It
What
was
happened to that?
shocking. And no mention of the fact he was abducted as a child and taken from his home planet like Angelina Jolie. And yeah, none of that was addressed. But yeah, strange.
Yeah.
Anyway, he talks about it in about Syril's disappointment that Cassian says, "Who are you?" And it was kind of like a brutal line, because Syril believes he's doing the right thing in his own little sliver of the Empire, and he's so disconnected from everything else that's sort of going on, and Cassian just doesn't recognize him at all because he wasn't part of Cassian's world. Cassian never really interacted with him throughout the whole series, although they ran close and effectively Syril was hunting him down, and Cassian was kind of oblivious to what was going on as well.
Yeah, it was. It's been a real sort of. I suppose in many ways this has been Syril's story, hasn't it? He's been pretty much at the center of all of this, and yeah, the whole Syril and Dedra relationship. It seems very sort of taut, if you know what I mean. It's very sort of like, I don't know. I mean, do they like each other? I don't know.
I know there's something weird going on there. Weapon T8613 making a comment. I hope Bixton escaped Alderaan. I hope she did. I hope when we find out that's where she went. She set up a lovely home in Alderaan, and so everything that Cassian's done was completely for zero purpose.
Yeah, I was glad that Bix got a revenge on that crazy mind melting moron. So that was quite cool.
Dr. Gorst, the lovely Dr. Gorst.
Of course you do.
He didn't know who she was either. I would point out. He had no idea. Thought he'd seen her somewhere before. She meant little to him. But as it comes to Syril, I've obviously have a deep love for the character. And so I made a little video just to, we can all remember our deep love for Syril Karn.
The second someone mentioned you were all alone, I could feel the trouble coursing through your veins. Now I know it's got a hold. Just a phone call left unanswered had me sparking up. These teardrops won't stop me wondering where you are. Don't let go, keep a hold. 'Cause if you look into the distance, there's a house upon the hill, guiding like a lighthouse. It's a place where you'll be safe to feel our grace. We've all made mistakes if you've lost your way, but I will leave the light on. But I will leave the light on.
So sad, Paul. So very sad.
Yeah. Well, you know, I felt similar about Brasso. So
Did
yeah.
you? Leave the light on is what I said. So I thought it was a great musical choice.
Genius.
Great character. I could watch him eat cereal all day. Universal on YouTube asking the question, are we enjoying all the episodes of Andor Season 2? I think they work as a collective. There's certain episodes you think that's a bit slow and what's really happening and blah, blah, blah. But I think when you watch them together as something complete, I think it works really beautifully.
Yeah, I must admit, I thought the first three were better than the second three, but then the stuff that we've just had for the third run, they were superb. Yeah, yeah, it is the Syril and Dedra show.
I'm all choked up like Dedra. It's terrible. She betrayed him in the end. That's what we'll have to remember.
Well, for a long time.
He was so proud of the work he was doing and weights and measures and keeping fuel pure. You know, not once have you heard anyone pass comment on having bought some food in a shop and it being the wrong weight and you know, and Gore, you know, he kept the ship tight. Skyrider, I hope they make a Syril Black Series figure with a cereal bowl. That would be great.
Oh, and his mom. A 2-pack.
Love having a new movie every week is ramping up now for sure. Asking if you can share the viewership numbers. Yeah, I think there's never really an accurate measure. I think of viewership numbers on Disney Plus shows because everyone's got their own way of measuring it when it comes to streaming, and there's not like a universally accepted kind of measure. And it's really got more to do, I think, with the analytics that Disney Plus themselves can see in terms of who's repeat viewing, who's a new viewer, who's subscribing and watching just that content. And that's the interesting elements, I think, for Disney is like what shows are capturing a new audience for them and what shows are being repeat viewed. I think it's otherwise can be difficult to judge streaming content. And as Mark says, you know, you've got this measure of 781 million minutes according to Illuminate for week 2. You know, it doesn't mean anything to anyone. What people want to know is how many people are tuning in. Because, you know, you could have 781 million minutes. It could have been 781 people that watched a minute and switched off. You know,
that is a rubbish measurement. Yeah.
It is, and they haven't got it right. And having worked doing stuff analytics for streaming companies, like it's more the collective units of measurement as to who's the new subscribers, are old subscribers finding the content, are people repeat viewing it. You know, these are the things that are probably counting more than volume at the moment when it comes to streaming.
And the bottom line is, I mean, we're not going to see the likes of Andor again, are we? Because they were committed to the second season and they've really outshone any other of the Disney TV series for my money. Both season 1 and season 2.
And the problem is that the budgets have been cut massively since. And so you're not going to get something visually of that level, you know, in terms of scale. You know, you look at the size of the sets for Gore, for Chandrali, you're not going to see that kind of thing again on Star Wars TV.
The Chandrali one was amazing, wasn't it? In the first one, that was amazing. But the fact that I think I'm right in saying Andor was originally scheduled to be something like 5 seasons, but what they basically did was to break it down into this way of doing it over. You know, here's 3 episodes for a year, 3 episodes for another year. So they sort of condensed what their original plan was. But to be honest, I think what they've done with it is absolutely stunning. I can't wait to see the conclusion of it over this, you know, in the next few days. And from people who have seen it, I believe we're in for some shocking moments.
Skyrider says the wrath of Mama Karn and Uncle Harlow in the final episode. As much as I would love that to be the case, I don't think it will.
No.
Sadly, I actually felt sorry for Syril's mother in the end.
Yeah.
I think especially when she was in tears and they kind of panned away and she had the spiders, obviously from him, on her sort of shelving unit, where as much as she was harsh towards him, there was a deep love there as well.
Oh, it was a typical mother's love, wasn't it? You know, bit overbearing, but there you go.
Yeah. We're not going to get Tony Gilroy back, I don't think.
No.
He's putting in so many years of work to this, and I don't think he'll go back and offer more.
It's been nice though to have something that is very much aimed at an adult audience rather than sort of like family friendly.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the violence, the language that's been used, everything about it has just been like a quality post 9 p.m. drama that you'd have had on ITV or BBC back in the day. And the fact that it's got Star Wars running through the core of it is just an added bonus.
Yeah.
It's been some of the best TV that I've seen in years.
Universal's disagreed in my estimation of viewership numbers. They think the only accurate numbers are the ones that they've done when they're on air. And he's providing some numbers. Episodes 1, 2, and 3 were 248.8 million and not in the top 10. But 248.8 million of what? And how do they measure it? Who measured it? Where did they get the information from? Because I don't provide my Disney Plus information to anyone else other than Disney Plus. So they don't know if I'm a new subscriber. Am I an existing subscriber? Have I watched it once? Have I watched it twice? Have I watched it multiple times? Have I gone back and rewatched episodes? So none of these analytic companies have access to the data. Disney do not provide access to the data. So they have a distinct, and it's very low, and it's normally 1,000 households, and they try to extrapolate that out. But they've got no measure of you, me, anyone else's behavior. Do I subscribe just when Star Wars is in the air? Do I unsubscribe afterwards? So like none of this, none of these numbers mean anything. It's talk about number of minutes watched. So what? Did they watch the whole episode? Did they check out after 5 minutes? It's none of this analytics that these companies are doing have any value, and that's why none of the streaming companies pay anyone to collect these analytics, because streaming companies have better information themselves.
Has it been on Gogglebox? I've not seen it on Gogglebox yet. Gogglebox, get in on Gogglebox.
Yeah, Gogglebox. But yeah, none of these streaming companies have remotely any accuracy. If you take their numbers, for example, that they'll produce for a Netflix show, Netflix will release their top 10 and their statistics at various points throughout the year, and none of this analytics companies' numbers come anywhere close to what Netflix report.
Yeah.
Now, when Netflix are reporting it, they're reporting it to the stock market, so they're not lying, because they can't lie to their own stockholders. So waste of time when it comes to analytics.
For argument's sake, though, Brian, if they did manage to find out that Andor has been a huge success, however they measure it, what does that mean for Star Wars? Does that mean it will go more down this adult themed orientated route with stuff? You know, that would be great. I think the problem that they've had with Star Wars since the Disney era began is that in many cases they've tried to pitch it trying to find new audiences rather than sort of like saying, right, existing audience, you're going to love this, and if anybody else comes on board, great, rather than trying to encourage a new audience at the, you know, almost disrespect of the existing fan base. Andor doesn't do that, and Andor sort of aligns more to who I am now than who I was as a 7-year-old, which which is perfect, you know. So I'm hoping that's what they'll do. There's rumours of horror films and all sorts of things, but
Yeah, and I think you're right, because they have to create content for everyone. And so if you look at the actual statistics published by the streamers themselves, their most popular shows tend to be kids' animation shows, which are incredibly cheap to make. And the reason they're popular is because if it's Peppa Pig, the parents are putting Peppa Pig on repeat every single day and sticking the kid in front of the TV.
yeah,
You know, that's what makes it popular is, you know, the kid might be obsessed with a particular character and wants to watch it every day, and it might watch that thing on repeat, 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 repeat.
yeah,
Is that the thing that's keeping that subscription going in that household? Probably, because the kid loves Peppa Pig and Peppa Pig's on X streaming service. That makes Peppa
yeah,
Pig valuable.
yeah,
It might not be the most cutting edge. It might not attract new subscribers. You know, so you've got different measurements that the streaming companies have to take into account as to what's attracting content. I know on Disney Plus, as soon as Andor's over, I will unsubscribe. And I won't subscribe until the next Star Wars content is on, which probably won't be till next year,
yeah.
because I won't
Yeah.
resubscribe for the animated shows.
Well, we know you're not a fan of the animated stuff.
That is an indicator. If I unsubscribe and subscribe before a Star Wars show starts, unsubscribe afterwards, and don't resubscribe till the next Star Wars show is on, is a clear indicator to anyone at Disney Plus looking at analytics saying we need to make more Star Wars live action content, because that's what's getting people to subscribe, and we're losing them when it's off the air.
I'm probably better representation of the people that have Disney Plus. I just keep it running because I like to have my library of Star Wars content at hand whenever I want it. But I know people like yourself. I mean, my brother may not even have Disney Plus at the moment. He might be waiting for the remaining episodes to pan out, and then he'll subscribe for a month or so.
Yeah. And so every household will behave differently. And so if you're an analytics company and you take a sample of 1,000 households, you're not getting a
true picture
of how it works, because everyone's different. Some people like the library of content and they'll dig into old stuff, watch old episodes of The Simpsons, whatever. But the other element of it is people, like if you're me, I need content on in the background. And so I will find trash films on Netflix and put them on and not watch them.
Yeah.
But they're on in the background. Now, there's no measure of that, the fact that I'm not actually watching it, other than the fact that Netflix or whoever it is can see the fact that I haven't pressed the remote controls, hit to see info, looked at subtitles, looked at the extra information or anything whilst a program's been on. So you can then start to deduce, well, if that person is not interacting, is he really watching it?
Yeah. It is a difficult thing to measure, which is why any figures can be sort of massaged.
Yeah, you have to look at the bigger picture, and you have to start digging into the numbers. And this is what's proven to be very, very difficult for companies to measure what's successful and what's not. It's not like the old days where you used to have websites that would be able to predict what's going to be renewed and what's going to be cancelled. The vast differences in costs.
It's a whole different world there.
And what is making them interact with the service is what matters now. Where before, if they weren't getting the viewing numbers, you weren't able to sell the ad space. You weren't making the money. It was what determined whether a show was renewed or cancelled. So people will complain and they'll bring up stats about the Acolyte. And, you know, there was one just recently where they brought up how it was doing 20 times better than any other show. But what they weren't telling you was that they were comparing it to every content on every platform. So they were comparing it, saying it's 20 times better than some random game show being shown on Dave. You know, that has no meaning to anybody. When you took the Acolyte stats and compared it to every other Star Wars show, it was still doing incredibly poor. And doing incredibly poor when it was one of the most expensive shows to make.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
your cost
There's al-
per
yeah.
captured audience member was very poor.
There's always a way to massage the figures the way you want. So yeah.
Yeah. And here's the logic is Weapon THX 1138 points out we're kids back in the day, we're now adults, so there's two distinct pathways they can utilize, and I think it is as simple as that.
Exactly. Yeah. So you've got something for those kids to grow into when they're older as well.
Yeah. And I think that's the element that Disney have struggled with since the acquisition, is their focus has been on finding a new audience.
Yeah.
And in that path to finding a new audience, they've lost a little bit of their connection with the existing audience.
I would say they've alienated a lot of people.
Yes. And I've watched a lot of WWE as they were talking about transitioning from cable network to Netflix, about how they would have to re-educate the audience because it was a whole brand new audience for them on Netflix, whilst not offending their current audience. So introducing people to their characters and storylines without making it paint by numbers and boring and irritating for their existing audience. And it's interesting when you see companies talking about how they plan a transition. And I don't think Disney planned a transition very well at all. I think they just looked at it and said, we want, and initially it was they wanted boys. That's why they bought Star Wars. They said that themselves, and they want the young market. And they forgot that, Star Wars is very much universal. You've got a lot of female fans, a lot of male fans. You've got a lot of people of different ages, and they just didn't appreciate what they were buying, I don't think.
I think that what they should have done as a form of research is actually go along to Star Wars Celebration and see who your audience is. That would have helped.
Yeah.
But also the fact that a lot of the driving characters, if you like, Rey, Ahsoka, Jyn Erso, they've gone very much down the female route. Even in video games with what's that one that's recently having an update with Hondo? Outlaws. So very female driven, and I've got no issue with that whatsoever. But the biggest thing that Disney did wrong for me, they had an opportunity to have Han, Luke, and Leia and Lando together one last time, and they didn't do it, and now they can't because for obvious reasons. But that for me, that was their greatest failure.
Yeah. Again, I'm going to disagree with you, Universal, in terms of what you're saying. Is you can't compare Andor 2 to anything else that's before it, because other stuff's been there and had repeat views for significant periods of time. It's the same when Skeleton Crew came out and everyone was celebrating the fact that Acolyte had higher viewership than Skeleton Crew when your Acolyte had been out for pretty much a year. And you were counting a month's worth of Skeleton Crew viewership. It's like none of these numbers mean anything unless there's meaning behind them, and there is no meaning behind them. Trying to determine whether a show is a success or not based on the analytics from 1,000 households is utterly pointless.
The thing as well with Acolyte is because there was a massive negative element of Star Wars fans complaining and sort of being very down about the show. Anybody that did like it would make the point of watching it over and over again, because to them it was almost a religion. It was sort of like I love this show and there's nothing you're going to say is going to change my mind, kind of thing. Likewise, the people that didn't want to see it, they had exactly the same thoughts but in a different way. So you can get almost fanatical about anything, and if you do, well, then you're only going to see your point of view.
Yeah. And Universal's all talking about viewership numbers for WWE as well being at an all-time low. Netflix haven't released the numbers for WWE viewership, and what they have released is public statements saying that they're delighted with it and it's at record highs and higher than they expected. So no one can call it a failure this far. you're also comparing the fact you're comparing viewership numbers for one country in America against Netflix, which has been streamed to over 80 countries for WWE, where they didn't have impact. I can take, sitting here in the UK just now, WWE was doing less than 100,000 viewerships every week on its flagship shows. It's now doing 600,000-700,000 easy. And so you can't talk about these things. You know, these analytic companies are putting out trash and charging people trash subscriber fees to access this information. And there's not a single commercial company that is buying into what these analytic companies are putting out there.
No, I think in theory it should be easier these days than it was back in the 70s and 80s and 90s even to measure how popular something is because of social media. You know, you know the reaction to a program, a film, by the comments, providing they're genuine, of course, that are being generated throughout social media. But again, you know, you can falsify all sorts of things. I think people just need to just sort of find a way of monitoring these things properly, but given it some sort of meaningful figures. You can't just say millions of this, millions of what.
You can't base it on number of minutes. You've got to base it on number of accounts accessing it. But you also have to provide the data as to, are they watching the entire program?
Yeah.
Are they going back and repeating watching it? Are they a new account? Are they an existing subscriber?
But for me, a repeat watch would be as valid as a first time view because it shows that it's great and somebody's watching it.
That is where the difficulty comes for people to understand why are some shows getting renewed and some aren't. And that Andor season 1 is probably doing fantastic numbers in terms of repeat viewers. Because people discovered it after everyone was raving about how good it was. Probably didn't have a great launch because people weren't excited for it before it came. And so it then becomes very valuable, the fact that people are repeat watching it and going back and watching it again, because Disney Plus aren't putting out new content every single day. So a popularity of an existing program is kind of crucial to them in order to retain an audience. Skyrider making the point as well. I don't think Acolyte was great, but objectively many TV hit shows in the US anyway started out badly and only became true hits after their second season. For that, I wish they didn't cancel Acolyte. I think you're very true in that comment. And again, a lot of that has to do with, in the olden days, they used to call it the Cancel Bear. It was a great website. You could predict what shows were going to be renewed and which weren't. And certain channels had to hit certain viewership numbers. And certain shows would scrape through and be on the cusp and get that second season. It would be that second season where it would work. I'd look at Stargate as being a fantastic example of that. You know, they lost their platform that they were on, and they only survived because they got a multi-year deal from the Sci-Fi Channel. And if they got a one-year deal from the Sci-Fi Channel, they probably would have been cancelled. The fact that they got a multi-year deal meant they had a comfort level to build that audience, and they built it slowly. And then, what did they do? 12 seasons, I think it was, and then 2 spin-offs.
Well, your classic example is Star Trek, because that really didn't get going until syndication, did it?
Yeah.
So, you know, it was very poorly received originally, and look how well that's done. Yeah. You know, there's our Star Trek fan.
But yeah, I think any fan trying to look at what's going on with a show and whether it's popular or successful has to completely ignore the analytics companies that are trying to sell this data. It's meaningless and worthless. What you have to look at is, what are Netflix saying? What are Disney Plus saying? And because there's multiple factors now. You know, it's so complicated that even the streaming companies struggle to know what to do. You look at what happened with the Willow TV series. I thought was a very decent little TV series, and I think it could have found an audience. But clearly people were not repeat viewing it. and that's why it was taken down, because they could take it down, class it as a failure, and write it off, save money on their taxes. So it's completely off the platform now. And for most people, it's against logic to take something off the platform, but it actually costs Disney Plus to keep content on the platform, because you're still paying residuals and so on for it. So you're going to see more of that going forward, where if people aren't watching content and going back and rewatching it, it's going to disappear. They do an interesting thing with The Simpsons and Disney Plus, and where they don't put out every season, and they put out a certain number of seasons, and that's to encourage you to watch it. And if you watch it, they put out the next few seasons, and then they'll take off the first few, and it's to if they put every season out there, they're going to pay a lot of residuals for a few people that just repeat watch everything, where they can focus it in a few seasons instead. There's so many levels to this.
Yeah. I don't know.
Complicated. Complicated. And this is why, these companies put out what their subscriber levels are at. That is probably the most important thing for them, because that's what's your constant revenue stream. You could have the most watched program. Andor could be the most watched program on TV this week. Could be incredibly popular. But if you've not added any new subscribers this month, you're not making any more money from it. So yes, you're getting fantastic views. It's not made you any money than you would have made without it.
Yeah. There was something on TV yesterday about the post office drama. Even though it was a huge success, and how it has really helped in the cause for those postal workers that were wrongly accused of falsifying their accounts. The show, even though it was a huge success, it still lost money.
Yeah.
Considerable amount of money.
What's the name of the BBC game show? Wait, Pointless. Pointless is the name of the BBC game show. Anyway, let me just look at something up. Richard Osman, that's the guy's name. I'm going to recommend a podcast to everybody.
Because he's no longer on that show, is he?
He's no longer on that. If you go to Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, look for The Rest is Entertainment podcast.
Yeah.
It is a fantastic podcast. It's hosted by Richard Osman along with Marina Hyde, and they very much give you an inside look into the world of entertainment and how things work. And I highly recommend it to anyone. It is without doubt one of the most knowledgeable shows out there, and they explain things in a very clear and concise way as to how decisions are made in the entertainment industry. And fantastic, very entertaining, and you learn so much each episode, so I highly recommend it. But on that note, as Weapon THX 113 says, I can't wait for Tuesday. Let's go. Let's be excited about good quality Star Wars content coming our way. And after that, he's going to cancel his D Plus account October for Star Wars visions. There we go. Mine's already cancelled because I'm ahead of the game, so the time's out just after. After Andor's off air. There we go.
Brilliant.
Paul, we've rattled through the news. We've gone through everything. Should we promote what's coming up on the Father Tracks Network?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Where are we? I've lost all of my content. Here we go. First up, fathertracks.com. That's where you should get all your Star Wars news in a single file. Daily Star Wars and Lucasfilm news covering film, TV, collecting, fashion, gaming, literature, music and art, interviews, event coverage, podcasts, and reviews.
If you're into social media, we've got plenty of it. We've got TikTok, we've got X, we've got Threads, obviously Facebook and Instagram. Check us out on there. There'll always be something that you'll be interested in reading.
And Fantha Tracks Radio, search for Fantha Tracks Radio on your podcatcher of choice. Mr. Newbill's frantically typing out as we speak what's appearing this week on Fantha Tracks Radio. And it is, in fact, reaction chat on Wednesday morning at 3 a.m. UK time for episodes 22 to 24 of Andor. I think it's episodes 10 to 12 of season 2. So 22 to 24. You're very confusing with these numbering. And you'll also have a new episode of Making Tracks in midweek as well, and a new Planet Layer on Friday. A busy week for Fantha Tracks Radio, so check them out. And of course, keep your eyes on Fantha Tracks TV, Good Morning Tatooine, every Sunday. There'll be Jabba's Court up on a Wednesday, and we'll have regular live streaming at some point this year.
I think we want to rename that the Phantom Menace.
It's Phantom Menace. It will happen one day. Thank you, Skyrider, as well.
Cheers, Skyrider.
Appreciated all your comments from everybody throughout the show as well. And always fun to hear what people think about things as well. So we're not in the echo chamber of our own thoughts and opinions.
Yeah, absolutely. I won't be here next week, Brian.
Hurrah!
I'm off to my own version of Tatooine, Benidorm. So I shall leave you in the capable hands of Mr. Newbold.
Yeah, Mr. Mark Newbold's joining me next week, and we'll be covering all the week's news. And then when you're back on proper Star Wars Day on the 25th, we'll be covering the first episode of Andor Season 2. We'll be picking a deep dive and our thoughts on each episode once everyone's had a chance to watch the whole thing multiple times by then.
Yeah, absolutely. So go on then.
So on that point, it's a good night from me.
And it's a very good night from him. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Keep up to date with the latest Star Wars news each and every day on FanthaTracks.com. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Tumblr, and Pinterest at Fantha Tracks. And be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and follow Fantha Tracks TV to be alerted to new content and to be a part of our live shows.